All right, guys, so building a slingshot requires a couple key steps before we actually put it all together. Step one is I'm going to be looking for a harder wood. Oak, cedar, crepe myrtles in this area work really good. I'm looking for something where the handle is about the size of my hand, a little bit longer, and then I have a nice even split on this Y coming up. Once we have it, we need to dry the wood out and then secondly, fire harden it. If we just pick up wood off the ground, there's a chance that the moisture in there has already started to rot away the wood. That wood is not going to be nearly as durable as a green piece of wood, meaning something that's still connected to a live plant that we cut down, dry, and fire harden. This process does take a couple weeks to do properly, but let's go look around and see if we can find a couple different designs for slingshots that we want to use. All right, guys, if you are going to build this and you are out on a camping trip, you definitely don't want to carry around a bunch of heavy tools. So something like a pack saw or even the saw on a multi-tool is going to work perfect. I'm literally going to be able to find these Ys in my yard. So something a little bit easier like this is just going to save me some time and energy. So it's up to you. When you do cut this, always cut it longer than you think you need. I would recommend minimum 6 inches on both the handle as well as the Y. You can always shorten it later, but when I'm looking for a slingshot Y, a couple things I'm looking for. One is going to be just the diameter of my branches. This is pretty thin, a little bit thinner than I want. I could also see this would be the Y. That's a really nice Y, but if you notice the handle is coming straight down from this part of the Y, we really prefer if the handle was coming down right out of the middle of where those meet up. So something a little bit more like this piece right here. I have that nice Y and then the handle coming straight down. One down. It's a really nice looking Y. Again, I cut it a little bit longer than it needs to. Let's go see what else we can find. Before you walk through your mom or dad's property and start cutting stuff down, you really should probably ask if it's okay first. Before you go out and get your Y, one last thing to consider: how do you want to connect your band to the Y itself? If you're going to use whipping, which in my opinion is a little bit more challenging, go ahead, go get whatever Y you like. If you want to drill a hole through it, what I think is the easier option of the two, then you need to make sure that the posts on your Y are at least a ½ inch in diameter. That's going to give space for the hole, the band to go through, and still provide the strength and the structure in the Y here, so you don't break your slingshot. And I'm going to show you 2 different ways that you can secure your slingshot band to the Y itself. We need to set this somewhere that has good air circulation and also isn't going to get rained on. Indoors is fine, just have it somewhere that it's breathable and there's moving air, so don't stick it like in a pantry or in a cabinet or something like that. Somewhere that's open with circulating air will do just fine. If we don't dry this stuff out properly, as the moisture that's inside this wood is going to start to rot the wood that's in there. It's going to start to grow fungus, which eats away at the wood, and then you're going to eventually have rotten wood and your tool is going to break. And it'll happen faster than you think. Like I said, if you want to skip the seasoning process where it just sits inside for 2 weeks and goes straight to fire hardening, you can. However, it is going to make it not as quite as durable. It also is more likely going to crack or split the wood as you go to dry it. So it really does help to let it naturally dry for a couple weeks and then expedite it by fire hardening. I'm going to go put these inside to dry out and then we'll harden. It has officially been 2 weeks and our slingshots are ready to be fire hardened. You have the obvious choice, fire hardening, which you can do like this. This is taking the slingshots themselves, hanging them over an open fire. You're gonna have to adjust the height based on the amount of heat, and then let this fire and this heat get all of the moisture out of these slingshots. However, it's summer, so it's really hot. You may not want to have a fire. You may not have a space to have a fire. We're gonna throw these slingshots in the oven and fire harden them that way. Let's go. I have a full-length video on whipping where I actually teach how to whip this handle right here, but this technique is the same as this technique. If you're going to do whipping, I strongly recommend that you practice on something bigger first. Maybe get a piece of paracord and practice on a handle or anything else that you want to practice whipping on before you try with the inner core. So let's see how to do whipping. So the first thing I'll do is I'll start off with a bite. Whatever length of whipping I want, so I want this handle, I'm gonna have my bite be about double the length. So if I want to end, I'm gonna end right about here. I want at least another inch just of playroom up here. So I'm gonna keep this nice and neat and together. I am going to start my whipping, okay? As I do this, I want this super tight. So I'll get this close. My first wrap around, okay, I go around once and then I wrap over the initial turn. So I'm gonna make that nice and tight. Once I get to the top and I'm ready to finish this, I'm gonna take the working end of my line and I'm gonna put it through this end of the bite, just like that. And now on my tail end, the one that was left hanging down, and this is why I like to leave so much room here, you may need to wrap a stick or something or a multi-tool around it to pull on it. If you did the whipping really tight, this should be pretty difficult to pull. But when I pull this, you're gonna notice one of these is gonna slide down and it'll pull this end inside of my whipping. Okay, so that bite is now going over the top right there, and the bottom is finished like that. Just to stop it from coming undone, we are gonna burn the ends. After I melt the ends of the paracord, just take the back of the lighter and kind of smash it. Trying to use that melted part like glue to stick that together. I'll come down to the other end here, do the same thing. There we go. That is whipping. Like I said, that's the same technique I did to secure these bands to the slingshot, and it holds great. The other option is just drilling a hole through the post, and then we're just going to use a sharpened stick to function as a plug here, and that's going to give us plenty of strength that we can pull this back and it will hold in place. This is easier to do with the second person, but it's not absolutely necessary. All I'm going to do is wrap the band and have about an inch to a half inch of excess past the posts. Then I'm going to pinch, and now I need to practice that whipping technique in between the post and my fingers here. Grab your piece of inner core. It's always better to have a little bit extra here. You don't want to be fiddling with the very ends of your line when you're trying to work in such a small space. And then I'm just going to do my whipping. When I do this, I always whip into the wood, so I'm having it go that way. That way it gets tighter around the posts. That is whipping to secure our slingshot band, just like that. The next thing we'll talk about is drilling holes. So you need something to drill a hole with. So if you're at home and you just want to use a power drill, this is a 1/4 inch tip and this works fine. If not, there are some pocket knives that'll have a tool called an awl on it. Looks like that. May look a little bit different depending on what you have. And this is designed to drill holes. So if I come down here and just start twisting, this is going to start drilling a hole, and then you can drill all the way through and pull your band through that way. I'll get usually a piece of inner core or string and pull it through that way, run my line through, and then I am just going to pull this through just like that. I do both sides first, and then I'm going to adjust the tubing and I'll show you how to secure it. Okay, once I have my band set up like this, I don't want to yank real hard or else you're just going to pull it right back through. I'm going to pinch the end of my tubing and start to just tighten it to where I have about a ½ inch left sticking out on either side. Just like that, and now I'm ready to secure it. In order to do that, I need to find a small stick slightly larger than the diameter of the opening of my tube. This one's going to be perfect. It doesn't need to be real long, maybe 2 or 3 inches. Now I'm just going to whittle this down into a point. Just like that. And I'll do 2 of these. I'm going to take that point, put it into my tubing. I like to work it in there a little bit, and then when I pull that tubing back, that's going to work like a cork or a plug and stop it from pulling back and through. I'll do the same thing on the other side and then cut them off even with the tubing. That way, I broke my tubing. And just like that. Let's go try them out.